Welcome back to Economics with Miss Evans. Remember, we're going over 5 mini episodes in economics, all right? But before we get started, let me get a sip of my water. You know, but I be thirsty. All right, let's get started. All right, episode 1, needs versus wants. Episode 2, goods and services. Episode 3, supply and demand. Episode 4, opportunity cost. And here we are today with the final episode, episode 5, surpluses, incentives, and scarcity. Miss Evans, what is surpluses? And please keep it kid friendly. Surpluses just means an extra amount. It could be an extra amount in profit, money, goods, and services. There are 3 types of surpluses: consumer surplus, producer surplus, and economic surplus. Let's look at consumer surplus definition below. Okay, the key words here are highest price a consumer is willing to pay. Let's look at the definition below for producer surplus. Okay, and the key words here are lowest price the producer is willing to sell a product for. And finally, let's look at the definition for economic surplus. Okay, great. So let's review. When you have a consumer surplus being added to a producer surplus, you have an economic surplus. Very good. Let's move on to what is an incentive. An incentive is the motivation you have behind pursuing a preference. A preference is your need and your want. All right, there are 2 types of incentives. You have intrinsic incentive and you have extrinsic incentive. When I look at the word intrinsic economically, I look at the word internal. So that IN lets me know it's from the inside. So let's look at the definition below. Okay, so remember, intrinsic is inside motivation to pursue a need and or a want, called your preferences. All right, let's look at extrinsic. When I look at the word extrinsic, economically, I think of external, or the first 2 letters, EX, which is like exit. So we're going to think about outside. Let's look at the definition below. All right, so the key words here are outside motivations that allow you to pursue your preferences. Very good. So let's look at the last definition, okay? The last vocabulary term is scarcity. Wait, scarcity is not a good thing. It's actually a negative word. Scarcity just means a short supply of something. It can be a good, a service, a want, a need, resources, and money. Scarcity is not good for consumers. Consumers are people who pay for a good and or a service, who pay for a need and or a want. And scarcity is not good for producers either. Producers are people or businesses that sells a good or a service or sells consumers their needs and or wants. In other words, scarcity means that there are limited amounts of goods for an unlimited amount of wants. Producers are forced to make an opportunity cost on their supply because the demand from the consumer is higher than the supply that is available. Well, thanks for watching episode 5, which is our final episode in our 5 episodes in economics. Don't forget to subscribe and watch, share, like the channel. And remember, next week we're moving on to another series called Learning with Miss E. So until then, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay hydrated. See you all next week.